So, hey homies, across the vast Dou continent where legends are born from blood, flame, and unbreakable will, the balance of power is shifting faster than ever before. The rise of saints is no longer a distant prophecy whispered by ancient elders. It is happening now, right before everyone's eyes. And at the center of this storm stands one name that continues to shake the entire continent: Xiao Yan. Having already stepped into the saint realm and reached the astonishing level of a 2-star Dou Sheng, Xiao Yan has become a figure that even ancient factions cannot ignore. His growth has been relentless, his path paved with flames, battles, and inheritances that most cultivators could only dream of. Yet he is no longer alone at the summit. Standing beside him is Dou Sheng, who has also successfully entered the Dou Sheng class, unveiling not only her new strength, but also a refined and elegant Saint level appearance that reflects her noble bloodline. With 2 saints already rising within their circle, the entire cultivation world now turns its attention toward another legendary figure. The woman whose pride rivals even the heavens themselves, Queen Medusa, also known as Lin. For years, she has stood as the ruler of the Snake People tribe, a queen whose authority was earned not through lineage alone, but through overwhelming strength and an unyielding will. Once, she could suppress Xiao Yan with a single gesture, her power leaving no room for resistance. But time never waits for anyone. Xiao Yan has already surpassed the level he once struggled to reach. And for a queen whose pride burns like molten gold, remaining behind is never an option. And that is why her current cultivation is more than just a breakthrough. It is a declaration that she will not fall behind the era that is rapidly advancing around her. The key to this transformation began deep within the mysterious Tranquil Spring, a place feared even by powerful cultivators. Hidden beneath layers of silent, ancient waters lies a force that resonates directly with Lin's bloodline, the inheritance of the 7-colored heaven-devouring python. For spirit beasts, bloodline determines destiny, and for someone who already stands at the peak of that lineage, even the smallest awakening can cause a terrifying leap in power. But this time the change would not be small. Before entering deep cultivation, Xiao Yan presented Lin with 2 treasures powerful enough to shake entire factions: a precious 9th-rank medicinal pill and the saint blood essence originating from the Yellow Springs. Either one alone could significantly raise a cultivator's strength, but together they created the perfect foundation for a breakthrough that might push her toward the legendary saint realm. Even so, those treasures were merely the catalyst. The true transformation awaited somewhere far deeper. As Lin cultivated within the Tranquil Spring, she gradually began to sense something unusual, a faint, ancient calling echoing from the depths below. At first, it was only a vague feeling, almost indistinguishable from the surrounding spiritual pressure. But as months passed, the sensation grew clearer. It felt ancient, familiar, and strangely comforting, yet as though something hidden beneath the water had been waiting for her arrival for thousands of years. Most believed that nothing living could survive in those depths. Even powerful experts protected by heavenly flames hesitated to descend too far. Yet the calling continued, persistent and undeniable, stirring the instincts embedded deep within her bloodline. Lin understood one thing clearly: whatever was waiting below was connected directly to her origin. Her enormous serpent form moved silently through the dark waters, scales reflecting faint ripples of colored light as she descended further and further, passing even the depths that powerful experts had once considered the absolute limit. Down there, the water itself began to feel different, heavier, quieter, almost as if time had slowed to an ancient stillness. Then she saw it. Hidden beneath layers of sediment and forgotten history lay the ruins of an ancient altar, its surface carved with interwoven patterns resembling countless overlapping scales. Faint 7-colored symbols glowed across the structure, pulsing gently the moment her aura approached, as though recognizing her presence. The instant her bloodline energy resonated with the altar, the entire structure awakened, releasing a soft yet majestic radiance that illuminated the surrounding darkness. From that light, blurred figures began to appear, not physical bodies, but lingering spiritual remnants. They were the ancient founders of the 7-colored heaven-devouring python tribe, beings whose physical forms had long vanished, but whose consciousness had remained sealed within the altar, waiting for the arrival of a true successor. To them, Lin was not merely a descendant. She was the final inheritor capable of carrying their will forward. Their communication required no spoken language. Thoughts flowed directly into her consciousness, conveying memories of an era when their tribe once stood among the rulers of heaven and earth. They revealed that their strength had never depended solely on raw power. It had been born from the perfect harmony of 7 primal forces, a balance that allowed them to reach heights unmatched by ordinary spirit beasts. Yet their fall had not been an accident. Hidden enemies, ancient conflicts, and the passing of eras had slowly erased their existence, leaving behind only fragments of their once glorious legacy. Now, that legacy had finally found its vessel. Rather than forcing their power upon her, the ancient souls offered something far greater: inheritance through acceptance. If she were willing to bear their memories, their pride, and their unfinished will, their strength would become part of her own existence. Kai Lin did not hesitate. For a queen who had always walked forward without fear, accepting the trial of an entire tribe was not a burden. It was an opportunity. One by one, the ancient souls dissolved into streams of light, merging with her blood, bones, and spiritual sea. With every fusion, her aura deepened, becoming older, heavier, and far more dangerous than before. It was as if invisible shadows of ancient beasts now stood behind her, lending their presence to every breath she took. The once legendary seven-colored python lineage, thought to be nearly extinct across the continent, had gathered once again, this time within a single body. And at that moment, Kai Lin understood that her path had already changed forever. She was no longer advancing alone. She now carried the power of an entire ancient tribe, and the transformation she had been preparing for had only just begun. When Kai Lin rose from the depths of the tranquil spring, she was no longer the same queen who had descended into it. The water parted around her colossal form, as if instinctively acknowledging a sovereign far older than the current era. The seven-colored glow that once defined her lineage had grown denser, richer, no longer merely radiant but profound. Within that brilliance, an additional depth flickered faintly, a hidden spectrum that had yet to fully reveal itself. The evolution had begun. This was not just an increase in cultivation. This was a rebirth. After accepting the inheritance of the ancient seven-colored heaven-devouring python tribe, her body had become something unprecedented. Dozens of ancestral souls now slumbered within her bloodline, not as invaders, but as pillars reinforcing her existence. Each carried fragments of ancient experience, battle instincts, spiritual techniques, forgotten understandings of primal forces. And as those fragments synchronized with her own cultivation, her aura underwent a qualitative transformation. When she returned, Xiao Yan immediately sensed the difference. There was no need for explanation at first. Power recognizes power. Kai Lin stepped forward calmly, her white sand-level attire flowing with an elegance that made her appear less like a tribal queen and more like an ancient empress descending from myth. And the newly revealed design suited her perfectly. Pure yet untouchable, dignified yet dangerous. Compared to her former regal attire, this version carried a quiet authority that required no proclamation. Even among saints, her presence felt distinct. Without hesitation, she raised her wrist toward him. Around it coiled numerous seven-colored snake-shaped symbols, each one faintly alive. They were not mere markings formed from Dou Qi. They pulsed subtly, as if breathing. Xiao Yan reached out, his fingers brushing across the symbols, and his expression shifted. Every single mark contained an independent life force. These were not constructs of energy. They were genuine remnants of seven-colored heaven-devouring pythons, true spiritual bodies bound to her existence. In that instant, he understood the magnitude of what she had gained. And she had not merely inherited power, she had become the convergence point of an extinct tribe. Kai Lin explained everything calmly: the hidden altar, the ancestral remnants, the spiritual merging. There was no arrogance in her voice, only certainty. She did not present it as a miracle, she presented it as inevitable. After all, bloodline determines destiny for spirit beasts, and hers had just evolved beyond its original limits. The seven-colored, heaven-devouring python was already one of the most dominant bloodlines in the Dou Qi continent. But now, through the synchronization of multiple ancestral remnants, something unprecedented was forming. A step beyond seven colors. A ninth, the nine-colored heaven-devouring python. This was not a title granted lightly. The additional color symbolized transcendence, harmonizing the seven primal forces while integrating two higher spiritual principles awakened through inheritance and saint-level refinement. The ninth-rank pill Xiao Yan had gifted her stabilized her physical vessel during the violent merging process, preventing her body from collapsing under the immense ancestral pressure. Meanwhile, the saint blood essence of the Yellow Springs reinforced her meridians and spiritual sea, allowing her to withstand dozens of simultaneous spiritual integrations. Without those two treasures, the inheritance might have torn her apart, but with them, the transformation became flawless. Her cultivation surged violently in the months that followed. The peak of Duzun could no longer contain her aura. Each time she activated the ancestral symbols around her wrist, and shadows of ancient pythons materialized faintly behind her, massive, translucent silhouettes that exuded terrifying spiritual pressure. When combined, their presence felt like an entire ancient tribe awakening from slumber. And then came the true test, the Heavenly Phoenix clan. Their leader had never viewed the snake lineage as equals. Old grudges between ancient beast races had long lingered beneath the surface. But when conflict ignited, Kai Lin did not hesitate. She stepped forward alone. The battlefield trembled the moment she released her aura. The sky dimmed slightly as dozens of ancient python shadows expanded behind her, their hissing reverberating like echoes from a forgotten era. Spiritual pressure condensed into visible waves, pressing down on the opposing side. She was no longer fighting as an individual, when she was fighting as a civilization reborn. When the heavenly phoenix leader attempted to suppress her with bloodline pressure, something unexpected occurred. Instead of resisting alone, the ancestral symbols around her wrist ignited simultaneously. Each symbol shimmered and a layered resonance formed, an overlapping roar of spiritual authority that shattered the opposing suppression instantly. Her aura climbed again. For a fleeting moment, the faint outline of a ninth color shimmered across her scales, subtle, almost imperceptible, but undeniably present. That was the sign. The nine-colored evolution was stabilizing. Her strikes carried not only Dou Qi, but also a layered ancestral force. Every movement felt heavier, older, commanding. Even seasoned experts watching from afar felt a chill run down their spines. Or it was not simply strength that frightened them, it was legacy. When the battle concluded, Kai Lin stood unshaken. The heavenly phoenix threat had been repelled, but more importantly, her breakthrough had reached its final threshold. Though she had not yet fully stepped into the saint class at that exact moment, the foundation was complete. With the 9th rank pill fully refined and the saint blood essence integrated, her cultivation stood on the edge of Dou Sheng. The only remaining step was time, a final condensation of spiritual and physical harmonization. And unlike many who struggle for centuries to approach sainthood, Kai Lin now carried something far rarer than opportunity. She carried inevitability. When she stood beside Xiao Yan once more, there was no need for comparison, no rivalry spoken aloud. But in her eyes burned the same pride that had once suppressed him with a single finger. She had caught up, and soon she would stand equal. The era where she protected her tribe alone had ended. The era where she fought beside saints had begun. And when she finally steps fully into the Dou Sheng realm, the 9-colored, heaven-devouring python will not merely be a bloodline. It will be a warning that the extinction of an ancient tribe does not mean its end. Sometimes it simply means it is waiting for the right queen to return. So what do you think about Queen Medusa's inheritance and her upcoming saint-level breakthrough? Do you believe her future strength will rival the strongest experts of this era? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like the video. Last, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned because the next breakthroughs, battles, and hidden inheritances are going to be even more explosive. See you in the next video.